You've all come through earth and water, and you dived deep into water and breathed your way up and through. So here we are in fire. The fire is an interesting place because it's kind of like the testing zone. That's the way I think about it. It's where you get tested, where you either get pulled down into fear and desire and confusion and the mud of murky water, or you transform the energy and you bring it up. And you say, I'm going to move my life through and up, out of the realm of power struggles. Power struggles are so boring. It's all about who's going to win. You know, and all the energy of the universe about, I'm right. I'd rather die than be proved wrong. I'm right. I'm going to win. I'm going to have the most. I'm going to be the one. And people kill, they do outrageous things to be right, to have their beliefs be the ones that are accepted. All of the religions of the world that go into the power struggles and the terrible things that happen in the name of religion, in the name of God, all of those things. The real meaning of love and spirituality is completely lost because all they care about is being right, and anyone else that thinks anything different, has a different culture, different color, different caste, they're wrong, and we're going to be better. So the realm of the power struggle, the realm of fire, is just so powerful. We have to dive into it. I was afraid of fire. I mean, I was so afraid to say anything, do anything, afraid of anger coming at me. Certainly, I'm completely unable of doing that. I was brought up in a Canadian house. You know, it's like, please everyone, smile, be the little helper, be quiet, don't make waves, you know. It's all about keeping yourself down. Of course, you know, 63 years old, I was a part of that culture too, where it was a lot more difficult for women to be strong, to be independent, to be creative, and so on. But somehow, you know, this is our work for men to develop the water, the compassion, the feeling, the nurturing, the balancing to the mental, and, you know, the tremendous energy of the masculine in the world, and for the feminine to develop the masculine within, so that the world that we have, which is nurturing and love and healing, those things can come out and into the world. But if we don't have fire, how can we do it? If we can't see the goal like the Sagittarius fire and just go, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get there no matter what, and I'm going to make all the costs, I'm going to manifest my goals. I am going to get where I want, I'm going to be what I want to be. You can't do that without the liver and the gallbladder. I mean, this is the yellow belt. This is the Chinese yellow belt. These are the organs that are the fire organs. The liver itself is the long-range planner. It's the general. The liver goes, I want to be a healer. And it sees the long path. And it says, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to become a healer, to become a teacher, to become a herbalist, you know, to become an iridologist, whatever. That's what I see as my goal. It's the Sagittarius projected into the future. But if you don't make the causes every day of your life, how are you going to get there? You can dream this forever. But if you don't have the gallbladder going, okay, what do I do today to make my goal happen? I don't care how busy your life is, how many children you have, how little money you have, none of that matters. All that matters is that every day you get up and you do something to make your goal happen. That is, people ask me, how do you do all you do? And I go, I do a little every day. And it doesn't matter what's happening, I do it. And then it's like down the road you just go, oh my God, all this has been accomplished. People say, well, I'm having really a hard time with the assignments. And I just go, do a little every day. Put one assignment in the kitchen, put one by your bed, have one in your bag. Everywhere you go, open it up, first thing in the morning, having a cup of tea, last thing at night, you just do a little every day. Even if it's reading one page, even if it's writing 2 lines, it doesn't matter how much you do, it's that you do it every day. So there's the liver, have your plan. There's the gallbladder, doing little bits every day. And then we have the pancreas. What does the pancreas do? It connects the masculine and the feminine. Because the feminine is over here in the spleen. Now what the spleen is doing is making daily life nice, the feminine, nurturing you while you're achieving your goals. So you're not being like so goal-oriented that you're not eating properly, you're staying up all night, you're not exercising, you're not taking care of yourself. So over here, the spleen is just taking care of life, and it's not blaming other people. Now, if you have a goal and you go, I want to be a healer, but your spleen and all of the energies in the feminine side, oh, my mother didn't put me through university, and my dad never read to me, and I just had no opportunities, and my brother was always hurting me, and I just feel wounded, and my first husband did this and that. So if you're wasting all of the spleen energy blaming everyone else for the fact that you haven't done this or that, or can't do this or that, or didn't get the education or the support or the money, you're just like burning up huge amounts of energy that could be very positively creating a positive ground in the here and now for you to support you while you achieve your goal. And then the pancreas is in between them, and the pancreas is going, sweetness of life, da 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 da. My feminine is doing this and she's happy, and my masculine is doing this and he's happy, and the pancreas is flowing between the two. And then you just go, okay, and then, you know, we're bringing food into our stomach, and our stomach is also part of, you know, the fire chakra, and the stomach is like digesting food, and so, and then the stomach comes into the complex, you know, it goes into the duodenum, and it gets secretions from the pancreas that come all the way from the spleen, and it's dealing with the liver and the gallbladder. And so in the actual metabolism of our body, you know, the generator of our energy, the transformer of raw material into energy is all working for our benefit. Because the spleen over here is receiving all the subtle energies of the universe, just like the feminine does. And the spleen energetically with all of the elements is very deeply in connection with all the other levels and energies and elements of the body. It is the most amazing thing, the fire chakra, and how the digestion has these subtle energies, emotions, connections, influences, what we bring into us and what we do with it, and how we eliminate the excess. You know, and so all of that is going on every level. And so the fire chakra is incredibly powerful for us. How do we function in the world, and how do we have relationships with people and not try to dominate them, or use them, or abuse them? And how can we, like, I mean, for me, I mean, that's like I have to have rules, I have to have boundaries, I have to speak the truth, I have to ask for what I need, all these things, even when it's a little difficult. I mean, I wish I could just be this. Sometimes I think, oh my God, I should have 100 servants, I should have several $1 million, I would feed everyone, there would be incredible healing centers. You know, I just kind of imagine, you know, this is the ultimate vision of all the things, you know, that I could just have this world that people would come into, and everything would be provided, and they would have beautiful clothes and beautiful food. And, I mean, I used to imagine this in the 60s, believe it or not. I used to just like trip out and imagine, like, where was the planet I came from? Where is it? It's not here. Am I going to have to make it or what? I mean, I used to just see all this in my mind's eye. And even now I think, you know, I could do all that. And maybe in another world, in another lifetime, maybe I did. But it isn't about having the ultimate. The fire chakra is about doing it no matter what. Doing it with the resources that you have, with the limitations that you have, with the heart that you have, the truth that you have, doing it regardless. Whether you have a nerve inflammation, you know, whether you're in the middle of moving. One year, my youngest daughter said to me, I'm getting married in August. And I said, when in August? Right in the middle of my summer school. You can't imagine what that year was like. The summer school, I mean, her wedding in between the 2 weeks. And I look back on that summer school, and it was an incredible summer school, and I partly died. I came in on the Monday to teach Iridology, and I was like hot and cold flashing, and I was thinking, I'm going to faint. You know, I was just like so exhausted. And one of my students, a beautiful graduate named Sandra, she had been at the wedding, an old friend of mine, and she came in at noontime and she said, Farida, I knew you would be exhausted, so I'm here to work on you. And the universe actually gave me totally what I needed. She brought me food. She spent the whole 2 hours or hour and a half working on me with Reiki and massage and reflexology. And then I was totally fine. But you know, it's like we do it regardless. And that's what the fire does for us. If we keep it healthy, if we keep it charged, if we keep it clean, if we're not wasting our energy with negativity, then we have enough. We have enough energy to be clean, clear, positive, to actually accomplish our goals, and to really honor the energies of the different aspects of our fire chakra. This is very powerful. If you've ever had a weak fire, which many, many women do, many women feel things and want to do things, and then when they try to bring it up and speak it, they dissolve in tears. Because the feeling is so powerful. And men are so many men are so great about logical thinking. And my first husband used to say all these things to me, and it used to hit my brain, and I would just go blank. I would just go, but. I couldn't say a word, because my feeling was so powerful, but I didn't know how to express it. You know, and so gradually we learn these balances, you know, and sometimes, you know, there's, you know, and we all have this incredible fear of fire, you know, because it can be immense, it can be completely violent, it can be completely angry, completely destructive. Fire can just whoosh, burn, kill, murder, maim, rape. I mean, aggression, competition. I mean, incredible stuff. You know, when the masculine, you know, becomes negative or destructive. And that we have both of them inside of this. This is not about the sexes. And then when the feminine goes into that hidden, deep, cold, burning resentment, you know, secret poisonings, you know, the dark feminine can be just as dark as the outer. I mean, the two things can be really, really dark. So I'm not saying that one is better than the other. It's like we have both of those potentials. You know, we need to really see those aspects. And the jealousy thing, I mean, terrible, terrible things, you know, that people do in the names of those dark, wild, violent passions, you know, where the anger becomes destructive. And people would rather have revenge. You know, people would rather die, you know, than not have the power. People, you know, in the 1920s, when they lost all their fortunes, they just dove out of windows. I don't want to live if I can't have power. I don't want to live if I'm not the richest person. I don't want to live if I'm not in control of my company. You know, and so we have all of these potentials in us for great dramatic interactions. You know, facing the fire, having the courage to face the fire. And for me, I mean, it was very instinctive in the beginning, you know, with my divorce, and several times in my life where all of a sudden the fire came up so strongly, I couldn't put it down, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And my remedy was to buy a bunch of glasses and throw them into the bathtub. And I didn't even know it, but the fire dance was already there. It's like when you actually throw things, you actually release the fire energy. You know, the throwing of spear, there's a reason why people do this. There's a real reason. Did any of you see that wonderful movie, Rangoon, when she was running away from the, Cambodian or Vietnamese people, whoever, who were trying to kill us, and she's hacking through the jungle? You know, that actress, I totally just wish I could just get that clip. Because she's like fighting for her life, and she's so angry, and she's like cutting the vines, and she's absolutely incredible. Because that's what it's like. But the thing is, you know, we can do that for our own being, for our own life, when we're cutting through our own negativity. You know, that's what it feels like to be a warrior in the interior world. You know, you're getting through the illusions, you know, you're getting through the passions, you're getting through the resistances, you know, the laziness, you're getting through the excuses, you know, you're just moving until you can finally feel, you know, that you're actually alive and awake in your life, and that your fire is there for your positive evolution, not your negative destruction. And it doesn't mean it won't flare up. I mean, I remember one time I got a call from a lawyer on behalf of a woman who had rented my dome when I was away for a few months in India, and she had broken all her agreements with me, and I needed to paint the place, and she'd done all kinds of stuff, and I said, no, you're not getting your deposit back. And I get a letter from this lawyer, which I didn't answer, and then he phoned me up one day, and the moment I heard his voice saying who it was, this flame just went through me. I remember turning red hot, and he was saying all these legal things, and then I said in this really cold fire voice, why should I hire anyone to tell you what I already know? Don't ever call me again. Boom. Tell me I had to get a lawyer. You know, I was just like, no way. But you see, that kind of fire, he never called me, I never got another letter, that was it. It was just bluff. But that kind of voice coming with that kind of feeling, you know, will cut through anything. And at times, like once in a Bali airport, when I didn't have the right visa for Australia, and I used that voice, I mean, I think everybody in the entire airport, small airport at the time, you know, just like, they all went like that. The guy looked at me and he just said, you better come inside. And he opened the gate and they gave me tea, and they got on the phone, they got on the fax, you know, and in 10 minutes I was on that plane to Australia. And the plane was like, they were just waiting for me, and then they shut the door. It was just like, there was no way on earth that that wasn't going to take place. And it's like, he goes, the man said to me afterward as he was walking me in the plane, he goes, when you spoke like that, I thought you were the Queen of England. You know, which brought me into the other aspect of fire, which is laughter, which is incredibly humorous, the whole situation. But you know what I mean? It's like, who's to know if you have that power clean and clear inside of you? If you have a need for it, it will totally be there, but it will be about the present moment. Because that is the problem with fire. When people get angry, they've got a volcano behind them. They've got a huge volcano that's about everything that everyone has ever done to them. You know, and you see that movie that started off with a road rage scene, I can't remember which, but I think Dustin Hoffman was in it, you know, where the two guys end up bumping into each other and then eventually killing each other, and then both of the cars burst into flame. That's the way the movie starts. You know, it's just like, they cannot control it. People cannot control the volcano. And so I like to say, okay, you know, we've got the fire chakra here, and it's like a triangle, which is like a volcano shape, right? And we have the diaphragm. And so, you know, somebody does something, or somebody, you know, and then if you've got the volcano there of all this rage and anger and resentment and blame and jealousy and God knows what else from this lifetime or other lifetimes, who knows if you have that in your system. Somebody will do something, and then all of a sudden the volcano just starts to erupt, and the poor person on the other side of it, you know, it's like in a relationship or whatever, or like an accumulation over years in a marriage. It may be just a simple thing, but if there's all that resentment build up, and then people say, oh, but then you did this, and oh, you did that, but then you did that first, but no, you did that first, and it goes way, way, way back till the first time they ever saw each other. Like, you know, it's just like, God, can we forget? Can we forgive? Can we let go? Is it possible that we can let go of that and just be here with it? I'm saying you can. I'm saying you can clean it. I'm saying you can. And you can also communicate. And you can also be around people that are angry at you. You can get messages when people are angry at you, and you just stop taking it personally. You know, and you just start dealing with it, and you become very awake and alive with how you play out subtle little things. And so even if you may play out a little bit, because we're human and we're learning, and you know, we're not perfect and we're vulnerable, and especially if it's people that we know or somebody's projecting on us, I go, nope, that's not me, that's you. You know, it's kind of like you get so that you can deal with things in the moment and clear and complete them, rather than adding it to the volcano. Adding it to the volcano is not fun at all. People stop talking to people because they can't talk to them. That sounds funny, doesn't it? People stop talking to people because they can't talk to them. Because they can't talk to them about a particular situation, incident, need, truth, or whatever, or clearing something. They just go, I can't talk to them. So they sort of end relationships, end friendships. Stop talking to sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers. Over the years, there's been many, many students that haven't talked to their mother for 10 or 12 years. Completely separated from siblings, won't talk to them. And during their healing process, those people always come back into their life, and usually it's them calling them. Because the energy is cleared in the person, in the universe, everything affects everything. And then the people suddenly feel like, oh, I think I'll call and see what's happening. I've seen that happen many, many times as a part of healing. It's almost like you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is change yourself and be receptive and be open. Open to be healed. Open to complete things. You know, when you do psychotherapy and you do seminars and things, people are completing with people that are dead because they never did it when they were alive. And it's still a burden, and still a resentment, and still a problem, and still part of them. Don't you just want to get rid of all that? All those conversations, all those memories, all those unresolved things, blames, resentments. Don't you just want to get rid of that? It's like, it's not doing you any good. It's not serving any purpose. You know, if the universe gave you some situation when you were born, or some situation when you were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, the universe gave that to you, gave it to you for a reason. You can't necessarily blame the person that gave it to you, can you, really? They were just doing what they were doing. Well, you can blame God, or you can blame the divine, or blame the universe, and that doesn't do you any good either. You know, and eventually you just go, I just want my own life. I don't want all these people inside of me. I don't want all those old relationships and old memories and old conversations. I just want to be me. And I want to be here, and I want to be here now fully. And I want my heart to be open. I don't want my heart to feel like it's got, you know, knives stuck in it. I don't want to feel like somebody's like thrown a lance at my stomach, which obviously, you know, if you believe in past lives, we probably had many lives. I love it when people talk about their last lives. Oh, I was killed, I was like stabbed against this wall, and oh, you know, I was like in this village and all these terrible things happened to me. When everyone talks about their past lives, it's always they were the victim. I never hear anyone say, I went into this village and I slaughtered everybody. I never hear anyone say that. They might say they were Cleopatra, but were they ever Cleopatra's sister? I don't think so. It's very weird, I always think. So why is it, you know, that when we remember ourselves as a victim? Poor me. I was so weak and helpless. I couldn't do anything. They were overpowering me. I didn't have a chance. But they don't talk about the next lifetime when they got even. Now, it's very funny how we, because you see the victim and the victimizer is the fire, isn't it? The victimizer is up there going, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to use you, I'm going to enslave you, and I'm going to have power over you, and you're going to think the way I do, or I'm going to, like Patrick in the boondocks of Australia, if you say that one more time, I'm going to... Did you know you were telling me the story of those policemen, you know, who were abusing the Aborigine people? Patrick tried to stand up for them, and they were threatening him, you know, that they would imprison him. You know, that's the kind of behavior that's all about the power struggles. Like, oh, I'm going to be big and I'm going to be strong, you have to do what I do. The bully. You know, and in the Enneagram, I mean, the number 8 type is a great representation of that, because their whole life is based on revenge. They're going to get even no matter what. And so you see the victim and the victimizer. So in the fire dance today, we're not just going to be victims, we're going to be victimizers. Watch out, you might get killed today. And you'll find out, you know, just how much fun it is to act out these energies and to really own them. To really own being the victimizer and just going, I'm as much that as anything. You know, let your face be ugly and let your talons and your to really let out that dark side of yourself and really own it as a possibility and really clean and clear it. because I just love that movie. I forget that one where it was in New York and it was in a law firm. And in the latter part of the movie, when he was with the devil, who was, that people would smile, and then all of a sudden you see this flash of this demon person behind the smile. The devil's advocate. Wasn't that wonderful? Because this woman turns and smiles at the lady, and then for an instant you just see this evil. But greed is like that, isn't it? And power is like that, and using and abusing and lying and cheating is like that, isn't it? It's an ugly face inside the person that looks all polished and beautiful. So the energies are real, and there's not for no reason that the Tibetan people made horrific masks when they were in their temples and their spiritual practice. The demons in their masks, the demons in their mandalas and their paintings, the demons in their dances. And the first time, actually, I was at the very first performance of the Tibetans in London many, many, many years ago when they came out and did their temple dances as a performance in London. And I was so taken aback because I was just in the very, very beginning of creating these dances where I'd started to work with some of those energies when I was up in the dome. And I actually did something I hardly ever did. I went backstage and I found one of the monks who spoke English, and I said, I really need to know why monks like yourself, who live in monasteries and spend your entire life in prayer and meditation, why you have these horrific masks. And they had beautiful costumes, and when they turned, they all spun out in ribbons. And all the ribbons created this amazing energy field around them. And then they would have those long, long horns, and they were dancing these menacing shapes with these unbelievably ugly masks and horns and teeth and colors, and headdresses. It was powerful. And now that's more familiar. But at the time, he just looked at me and he said, those dances remove the obstacles to meditation. And that's all he said to me. He just smiled. Because they own it, and they act it, and they dance it out. These are in me as much as the Buddha. These are real energies. And that's what they are. They may come up as faces. And of course, I grew up in British Columbia, and my sister married into the Indian nation, and they make unbelievable masks in the wintertime, and they dance out all these dances and energies. And in the British Columbian Indian culture, to be the most respected person in the community, you gave away the most. And the wealthy people, the people of status, they would have giveaways that they called potlatches, which are the original ones that the white people, made illegal. Because they would give away everything. They would spend like a year or two amassing great, great lodges of baskets and jewelry and clothes and blankets and weapons. And then they would feast for a week or two, and they would just give, which I thought was very interesting. And that would be the ultimate, the level of the society that you could reach, was to give away the most. And actually, the man that my sister married, he just gave the first potlatch of that nature, almost $500,000 that he accumulated and gave away 3 years ago. And it took about a week to give everything away. So it's a very interesting turn of the fire element. Not to gain status by hurting, by enslaving, by winning a war, by having power in that way, but to have the highest position by giving. It was very interesting. And there's many, many things you can learn from different cultures as to how they handle the power. And of course we have situations in Muslim areas where the men are totally dominating and enslaving and imprisoning the women. And I just really make it a point to watch all of the movies from that part of the world, and to learn something of the suffering of the feminine under that excessive masculine society. And, you can really get into some very difficult areas, like why does this happen? Why does a certain kind of consciousness or culture at any given time have to prove itself strong by hurting and dominating and weakening the others? but it's definitely a part of this world, isn't it? You know, and at times I experience great grief about that. But I'm not a political activist, you know, it's like I do what I can do in my own life and in the world, but it's not my realm of action, except to feel it, to be aware of it, and to know that it's going on. And so the fear of fire, you know, the fear of having something happen to you, and the fear of having it come up and of you doing something to others is a very real thing when you feel it, because when you feel it, it really is a demon, isn't it? It's a real demon. Every single one of the passions is a demon. You know, if you put it into a representative form, which many, many of the ancient religions have done, and many of the tribal and indigenous people have done it too. It is an energy, but it has an energy with a shape and a form. And even my granddaughter draws little drawings that she calls devils and feathered devils and all kinds of things. She knows to put a name to it. But so these are real energies, and you know, the Sufis used to say, if you get beyond the fire chakra and you begin to live in the heart, then you know that you come to a certain level, because it is the one that will send you down again and again and again and again and again. It's like, no way can you live from the heart and begin to really love if you're thinking about people that way. And when you really start living from the heart, which we will be doing tomorrow, going into that energy, you really begin to see the light and the soul and the uniqueness and the beauty of every single person that you're with. Even if they're very troubled, even if they're mean to you, it doesn't matter. It's like you actually really see them where they are in their own process of evolution, and also compassion for how they got to be like that. It begins to be a very different way, and you never even think of things like caste or color or culture or creed or education. I just love connecting with people from all levels. You know, I just love it, from the taxi drivers in London that used to come and see me, all the way up to the Earl and the Lord Astor, and you know, and the princess from Iran and the princess from India. It's like, they're no different, all the way up and down. Nobody's any different. And you could just take away all that excess stuff, and then you've just got a human being and a soul in evolution. And that's where you really begin to connect, and that's where you really begin to feel happy about being with people, because you're not measuring, you're not calculating, you're not using, you're not judging, you know, you're not, that part of your mind isn't even there, doesn't even see those things. You know, it's just a really beautiful thing, and I love getting in and out in taxis in Bangkok. It's one of my favorite things to do. I always think, okay, how am I going to connect with this one? You know, and it really, really works. It's good. And just being there and smiling and connecting with people as you're moving along is also really good. But that's another level, because in this level, you know, the fire chakra is going to teach you some really deep lessons, for sure. So sight is the sense. Eyes. But when you think about the fire, you think of Aries, sight, Leo, solar plexus, power, and Sagittarius, the power of the thighs. You know, so those are the three astrological elemental. But sight, it's like they say in China, the light of the liver shines out through the eyes. Now it's very interesting. I had astigmatism as a child and had glasses from 9 years old. And when I did my first deep healing, my 40-day fast, when I lived with the Rainbow Essene community in the early 1970s, I literally recovered my eyesight, and I never had to wear glasses again until I was 57. I started wearing some reading glasses. From this distance onward, my sight is absolutely 100%. Later, I was like totally normal. which just means totally fine. It was just like whatever that was, it was just like gone, you know. And it was like, God, that was amazing. It's always interesting to me how the water energy can move into the fire. And what are the things that influence it? What made my water energy change was to deeply connect with a friend and find out all about him, and you know, just think of how neat that would be that he would come to Puerto Rico, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, all the energy just shifted, just like that. And so I want you in your life as you move along to become aware of the elements as they are manifesting in you, and also aware as to how they change, you know, and how and what changes them. Because, you know, you want to be able to utilize the gifts of the elements. Because the gift, you know, of fire is really clear. Manifesting goals, the energy to rise up to the heart center and stay there, stay out of the realm of the fire struggle, open the heart, the energy and clarity to speak the truth, the spiritual cool fire that rises up and allows you to concentrate here and open consciousness in the crown chakra flowering, unfolding with the universal ocean, you know, of oneness. And so the fire has so many different dimensions, and when it begins to get clear and light and clean, it's just laughter. It's just fun. You just bubble away. You're just enjoying yourself, and when things happen, you may get engaged for a little bit and you may act out stuff, but you just act out and you go, oh, I'm grumpy, oh, I'm irritable, I'm a bear right now, or I'm a lion. You know, you sort of act it out a little bit and then it changes. But it's like the overall feeling about yourself, even when you're being that way, is cosmic humor. Oh my God, I've done it again. You know, it's like, or it's just, you're not giving yourself a hard time, you're not really giving other people a hard time. It's clean, it's clear, it's quick, it changes, it's honest, and then it's gone, and the humor's there, and then you're in joy again. You know, it's so like that. And then, of course, as time goes by, the distances and the reactions and so on, they just seem to like that. It gets better and better and better. So sight is the sense, and of course the taste associated with the fire element would be the spicy foods, the hot foods. Now, one of the interesting things about natural medicine and the elements and all of these things about tastes and the senses to do with the elements is that when you have a person who's very, very angry and vengeful and competitive and like that, they just love hot food. I've had many clients over the years who actually eat the food that is making them even worse. This is when we start taking case histories. You know, you'll get a person who's really, really angry and all they eat is like Mexican food and you know, tacos and hottest salsa. And then you'll get somebody that has colds and respiratory troubles and all they eat is yogurt and butter and cheese and cereals and milk, and young children who are hyperactive will just be like drinking sodas and eating. And there's a level of ignorance where they don't realize the cause and effect, that some people are actually completely addicted to what is actually making their situation worse, their emotions more violent or more depressed. I mean, it is extraordinary. It's like people at a certain point lose the authenticity of relationship with nourishment, and they actually crave their own poison. And, you know, as you clean and clear and go through rejuvenation, you will begin to see the effect of certain foods upon your body. And, you know, it's like your body will really show you, this is not good for you. And that's one of the things when you go through the self-healing module and you start taking food into the fire chakra, and you do the mono diet or you do different foods, you know, and then you start keeping a list of your reactions. I got tired after this food, I felt irritable after this food, you know, my nose congested after this food, you know, I felt this, I got constipated after going out for dinner and eating bread. You know, if you keep track of it, which you have to do with the self-healing module, you'll start to be amazed. Because otherwise you're unconscious and you don't understand any of the cause and effect. And so it's very, very important, because that's another aspect of the fire chakra, is really knowing what your digestive system is doing. How your liver is, how your gallbladder is, how your pancreas is, how your spleen is, how your duodenum, how your stomach. You need to have a relationship with each of those where you actually feel it and you're aware of it. But I love that that you put a happy smile on each one of them. Put a smile on your liver, put a smile on your spleen. Because when your fire chakra is happy, in ancient China, they never used to use the phrase sweetheart. When they loved someone who had a sweet nature, they called them sweet liver. Seriously. Sweet liver was the highest compliment. If you had a wife or a husband who was a sweet liver, you knew that they wouldn't try to hurt you, harm you, poison you, be mean to you, beat you. Seriously, you knew that they would be full of laughter and joy and fun. Isn't that interesting? Sweet livers. And then, of course, in English it means, someone who lives sweet. It actually, in China, it meant the liver itself. Because the liver is really our detoxifying organ of negative things. If you drink poison, it has to go through your liver. And actually, milk thistle is such an incredible herb. If you were actually able to take a lot of milk thistle after ingesting poison, it would actually carry the poison through your liver. And so the liver has to deal with detoxifying, the blood. And so we want the liver to really be powerfully clean and strong and able to deal with what it has to. So, it's like the inner ecology of the whole life, of the being, of the person. The inner ecology, you want all the organ systems and glands to be doing their job, but the liver is the one that's really going to be cleaning the blood. And there's several people here who have various levels of circulatory hardening, misting of white around the eye and top of the eye. I think there's 4 or 5 of you here who have a little bit of that, or a little more of it. And that is a systemic situation, and most of them are very, very light. And so the cleaning and clearing of the blood and the liver and all of that diminishes. I've seen, quite a few of those completely disappear. It's not a way you want to age either, because what happens is the brain starts shutting down, and memory, concentration, the arteries slow down, the body becomes inflexible and stiff, the hearing goes, and then eventually people have what is called the arcus senilis, which is even in ordinary medicine, where they actually can't function on the brain anymore. They don't remember things, they don't know who they are. They become senile. So it's not a way that you want to age. So whenever I see that in any shape or form in an iris, I'm like, get on it right now. Make sure that you're not going to go any further with that. Not if you want to enjoy your elder years. So how do we free ourselves from power struggles? How do we free ourselves from wanting to be right, wanting to win, wanting to have the last word? How can we have a positive fire that feels strong and clear and not be subject to the darker side? I can do things now that I never thought that I could do in terms of clarity and straightness with people, setting boundaries, saying what I need to say. And while there's a larger part of my being that would just like to just not have to do that at all, in order to function in the world, you actually have to do it. Because that part that wants to please is really huge for a lot of us in the water element, that are women, that are nurturers, that are healers. The pleasing part of us can be really huge. And also the part of us that wants to harmonize, wants to mediate, that wants to fix things, make things all right. That's huge. And I know for myself, for many years, that part would win. Instead of the part that goes, no, I really need this for myself. I need it in order to function. I have a bigger picture here. I need to have what I need, you know, like that. Before I would always take it on myself and suffer myself with this extra stress, with the extra responsibility, with the extra this and that. I would just always take it on myself rather than say, this is what I need, these are my boundaries, I can do this, but I can't do that, and, you know, and just being honest about what feels right. You know, I work with that all the time because especially as I get older, you know, 62, I mean, I really want to be doing this for a long time. I love it, I enjoy it. As long as I'm here in the world, I want to create beauty and create healing and share and teach and all these things that I love, that if I continually add stress and exhaustion on my body and take on too much and don't set my boundaries and ask for what I need and want and all of that, then I'm going to pay the price, aren't I? And we do that regardless of our age, regardless of what we're doing. So especially as women, we really need to get clear. We need to use the fire element to really get clear that it doesn't have to be about power in order to ask for what you want and need, in order to be yourself. It isn't about, you know, that. And that was a hard one for me. That's taken a long time. But now, because my feelings and emotions are really clear around it, and I'm not getting into guilt, although sometimes I hover on the edge of guilt. Oh, I wish I could do that for that person, but I really can't. So I can't. But I can feel myself hovering there, like almost wanting to get guilty for a minute. You know what I mean? Because I can't. Because if I do, then I have to pay the price, and my body can't do that. And when I do it to please, then I really, you know, I just can't. So it's a very delicate zone, that. But I think that all of you, particularly the women, really need to get, you know, sensitive to that place where you start pleasing and overriding things. You know, because that area is so huge. Women have done it for thousands of years. They've just done it and endured and endured and endured. But you see, what happens is just like with the infinity dance, you do that so long, and then there's the chronic illness, then there's the cancer, then there's the bitterness, then there's the loneliness. I don't have a career. My family have all left me. I sacrificed. I gave everything. I did everything. And now they've all left me. And now I'm nothing. But underneath that would be a raging fire of anger that the person maybe not even acknowledge. So into the body it goes. Into the breast. Into the womb. Burning in the bones. Creating inflammation in the tissues. You know, it's tremendous suffering not to acknowledge the fire of the truth of your being. And to be strong enough to be honest and clear with yourself. You know, and having had breast cancer from during my first marriage, and having absorbed all those energies and seeing and knowing what that did to me. You know, it's like I don't really want to wish that on anyone. But at the same time, you know, I think enough of us, you know, you have lived long enough to feel what I'm talking about here is really real. But a lot of people, if you say that to me, just go, oh, I don't want to know cause and effect, and oh, that's ridiculous that I'm causing. This is just a disease. This is just a virus. This is just this or that. And then it's like, I don't have to prove anything. I go, oh, well, if you're clear about that, that really does work for you. You know, it's like I don't try to prove anything to anyone. I don't go after anyone. I don't try to make stuff happen. I don't have to be right. You know, I just work with what is and what comes to me, and, you know, in a natural way. And so, especially as a healer, you should never feel you have to defend yourself. The person doesn't want to believe what you just go, okay, no problem. Let it go. You don't have to be right. You don't have to engage. You don't have to argue. Just let it go. And I love that in the biblical oil, that reference to the Bible about not, you know, sowing. I forget the exact words about if people don't want to receive what it is that you have to give. You know, don't force it on other people and just leave, even if it's your own family and your own tribe. It's a beautifully written, but I can't remember the exact words. But you know, that's the way it is. You just let go. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Once you stop feeling that you have to prove anything to anyone, or make yourself seem bigger than you are, or whatever. You know, I just like to say, oh, I'm just doing, you know, doing my service in the world and for those that need it and want it, and it's no big deal. You can just take a lower position on it rather than trying to take the higher position. And hard, I mean, I think I've only heard of maybe one person in 30 years that ever had any trouble doing this work in one form or another after being with the school, because they greatly imbibe the energy of not having to engage in power struggle. You don't have to even make yourself vulnerable to that in any way.
Farida, how do you sort out responsibility and guilt? Because sometimes they go together. Like you feel responsible, so then because you can't be responsible, then you feel guilt.
Well, the thing is, you see, that's where the water element comes in with the feelings. You know, because we get very confused about what our duties really are. But then it isn't a duty if somebody doesn't want to receive it. You can make an offer to fulfill your duty, but a lot of times in families, there's so many charges around things like that. You know, you can make offers, you know, being there. But feeling guilty is really, I don't know, for the most part, it feels like an illusion to me. Even when I'm hovering on the edge of it, when I sometimes like almost go into it or go into it a little bit, because that part of me goes, oh, I really wish I could do that for that person, or I think they might have felt a little bad because I couldn't do it for them. You know, and so then I start to take on the weight of that. But then if I go right back and I go, but this is what I could do for them, and that's as far as much as I could go. And sometimes in my family, if my daughters get into that, oh, well, you never did this or that, I go, you know, what you really, really have to realize is that I do what I can. I am generous, and I am there a lot, but I'm a mother, I'm not the divine mother. That you may wish that I could do every single thing in the world for you, but actually within my reality it's not possible. I have my own life. You know, sometimes I actually say that to my daughters, right to the face, because they really do get into that thing where they think I should have done this and I should have done that, and I go, well, actually, you know, I did do a lot and I did everything I could, and sometimes I'm in really difficult circumstances. You know, but I'm not the divine mother, so you almost have to make I'm not the ultimate, you know what I mean? You can't do everything. But what you can do fully and completely and sincerely. This is what I can do. And then sort of when you find, my young daughter actually, she's always saying that, Mom, I was always going to guilt, I always feel guilty because I can't do this, that, and this. And she actually spends a lot of time sometimes feeling guilty that she can't do this, that, and the other. That's a very busy life. But she's working it out slowly. I mean, different people have different tendencies in different directions, you know, with all these permutations of things. You know, you just have to recognize your own places, the ones that are the biggest deal for you, the ones that are the biggest challenges, and work with those. And then sometimes other ones will come up, you know. But a lot of the ones that I still work with are in fire, because I had to birth that through my being in my 40s, having been extremely fire deficient before then. And so I had to birth it through my being, and it was very, very powerful. And I'm still kind of taming it, and I want to honor it, I want it to come up, I don't want to repress it. But when it comes up, then I have to kind of, you know, acknowledge it. This is, you know what I mean? I have to tame it and hone it, but I really want it to be there, and I want it to be honest. So, and sometimes it's water. It could be water for somebody. It could be, you know, fire. It could be anger. It could be with greed. You know. Sometimes I walk into a fabric store and I stand there and I go, "Oh my God, I'm greedy," and I can feel like my heart center just go crazy, and it just wants this color and that color and this one. And I feel it and I acknowledge it and I go, right now I'm totally greedy. And then I can let go of it, and then I can settle, and then I can feel myself. But if I didn't acknowledge that, And I stayed in the vibration of just being so excited by all these colors and textures and fabrics and the things that I love so much. It would be much harder for me. But when you recognize that one of those things like bursts open inside of yourself, if it's a fear or something, whatever it is that comes up, if you just acknowledge it, even if I'm alone, I even say it out loud. Because once I say it, immediately it's already changing. Because I've named it, I know you.
Would you say that's kind of one of the keys to the freeing ourselves from the power struggle is acknowledgement?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you feel it, and all of a sudden you're moving into a pattern of aggression or competition or jealousy. If you say to a person, "I'm jealous," instead of feeding the jealousy silently inside of you and letting it grow, because you see, we actually feed these things with our thoughts. But if we acknowledge it and we say, "This is what is," and don't feed it, it can't grow. It will just dissolve and disappear. And one of the greatest things that a friend of mine taught me many years ago, and this often I would give it to a client or a student, I'm sort of glad that it came up today in this session, it's like if one of those things comes into your mind, like a jealous thing or a fear thing or whatever it is, and you just go, I acknowledge you, I forgive you, I release you, I'm free of you. And then just send it out of your mind. And if it comes back 5 minutes later, same thing. Every time it comes back, and eventually it doesn't come back. Every time it comes back, send it away. And do not feed it with your mind. Whatever you feed with your mind will grow, and it will take over. And it'll become real inside your mind. People go up to people with all kinds of things built up in their mind that are completely illusions. And then they will project it on you. Or they will tell you what you think. They will say, "Oh, this, and this," and I just go, "No, I don't think that way at all." I said, "That's not my reality, I don't know why it's yours." And then they just go, "Oh. And I go, "No, it's not me at all, that's not how I'm thinking." And over the years, students will come up to me sometimes, and I hope as the years go by that, and it does, because, I'm growing too. They come up and they go, "You didn't pay any attention to me, and I know you didn't like me, and I don't know if I'm going to, become a real graduate because I know you don't like me." And I'm just like, where did that come from? And I just go, "You got to be kidding." I said, "I kept looking at you in summer school and sending smiles your way, and and it's like you didn't come up to me, and I was kind of taking care of things, but you remember I did hug you a few times and ask if everything was okay, and where is this coming from? It's not real in me, so it's not coming from me." And then they usually like break into tears and, "Well, my mother," and I go, "Well, I'm not your mom. This is a chance now to have a mentoring, teaching, friend relationship with a teacher who's not your mom." And so you have to recognize when a person comes up to you with a whole imaginary agenda and tries to tell you how you think or feel, instead of like getting upset or reacting or staying away from that person, you just go, "No, sorry, that's not me." And then they go, "Oh," and then you can kind of talk about it. But if you take it personally and think, "Well, like, my God, did I really do that?" And if it goes into you and you make it all of a sudden real inside of you, then they've got you. And then all of a sudden you're engaged in this whole big thing that could really become a power struggle, where all of a sudden you have to prove that you didn't do that. And it'd be really wearisome. But if you just go, "Nope, not me." And so over the years, you learn by bit to deal with all these different scenarios. But you have to understand, Brad, what's real and what's not real. Because the mind will do all these things, and they're not real.
Right.
And especially, when a person does something and you start trying to figure out why they did that, and you don't ask them, that's really bad. That's really bad. You gotta ask them. You gotta bring it in the open. That's fire. Bring it right in the open. You know, sometimes people will say, well, I don't really know whether I really believe in your thing. You always bring everything into the open. And I go, well, you know what? Bringing it into the open is sure a heck of a lot better than keeping it in the shadow. I don't know what else to say to someone like that. You know, it's like, God, what are you going to do with it if you don't bring it into the open? Where are you going to put it? It's going to be there somewhere. So anyway, the cosmic humor wins in the end, thank heavens. Fire illnesses, of course, have all to do with the digestion. I didn't mention the word manipulation, but that's a huge amount of what happens in the business and political and social worlds, isn't it? People manipulating other people. And so the hidden things like that. Oh yes, and that's the one thing we do want to remember, is most of the power struggle realm, when we're actually in that zone, is about personal will. It's about that infant part that just wants what it wants. And you can notice it when the babies get into that around 2. With each of my 3 children, I burst into tears and sobbed when each of my children went into the personal will phase after being the infant that was just like all love. And then all of a sudden it's like, I want, and you know, and they're just, oh my God, it's like you've lost the little Buddha that you held in your arms, you know what I mean? But they have to go through that, and you have to go through it with them. But the personal will, it's almost like the infant stage is right there in a person, you know, who's acting out the power struggles. And when that is released, and when the volcano is cleared, you know, and it's like the fire energy is positive and clean and working for you, and you've got the gifts of laughter and joy and cosmic humor. Cosmic humor allows you to see the bigger picture. And all of a sudden you just see yourself in this thing, and you just go, oh my God, I thought it was real, and it's just silly. You know, so you get the bigger picture. We have the personal will that's like that. So what happens when you finally move and you come up here, you melt into the divine will. And you melt into this sense of unfolding with everything else. And you melt into the heart center, which is, you know, the unconditional equilibrium state, which has respect for everyone and everything. So that when you melt into the divine will, it's like, yes, I would like to do this, but, you know, I'm going to wait and see whether that feels right, and I wonder what the right time for that is to happen. It's not about pushing your will, which comes from your desire, onto a situation and pushing to make it happen. It's about acknowledging the potential of something happening and giving space for it to unfold with respect for all the different aspects of it, and allowing space and time to like gift you with things in the right moment. And it's amazing how much more full of ease life becomes when the personal will isn't pushing, trying to make things happen. And you're kind of dancing with what's coming and going, and waiting for things can be really lovely. It doesn't have to be impatient. It doesn't have to be boring. Giving time for things to unfold can be exquisitely beautiful. And so we change our relationship with thinking that it's always about the goal rather than the journey. And it's really about enjoying the waiting, it's about enjoying the transition, enjoying the unfolding and making that our life. And then let things arrive and manifest as they will. As thee will. Being in tune. So we'll take a break and then we'll begin the day. Forest fire starts and sparks.
There it is, primitive.
Feedback
connection.
Oh, kind of scary.
Oh God, you guys were great playmates. So how fun was it to be a victim?
How did the victim feel?
How was it to be a torturer? That was It's been a long time since you wrestled like that, huh?
People say when they grow up, it's hard to make a good friend or a true friend. And I was just thinking about it because we don't play each other. And I just suddenly came up and I didn't know why.
Yeah, you could wrestle and hang out and play. It was crazy. I do this with my oldest granddaughter all the time, and he's seen me wrestle. And I get her in these leg locks, and then she has to wriggle out. And then she wriggles out, and she just sits there, and she goes. And the first thing, practically, when I walk in the door, Grandma, listen, wrestle with me. She just loves it. It's just amazing. It's like the baby tigers. They chew and they play, but they don't really hurt each other because they love each other. Does anybody want to share anything a little more into the mix?
Oh, Catherine really got me good. She stood up and she was going like this.
Oh, yes.
And then she turned around and walked away.
What was yours?
Oh.
I said
It was the best no I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, with the hugging.
Oh, that's right.
The thing of this one. Yeah. She came and she said no, and I thought it's not very impressive. And she went on saying no, and I thought, it's still not impressive. And suddenly, and I was still there and pushing her, and suddenly she backs me, like she hugs me, and then I couldn't do anything. She stopped. I
noticed at first I was afraid that I was going to hurt someone, so I wouldn't let that play out at all.
Yeah, get your elbow right here.
Hurt somebody! Every time I hurt somebody.
Was that fun?
Yeah, it's great. Do it again.
Does that make you feel young or what? Does that make you feel like how old?
6.
6? It isn't so serious, is it, when it's 6?
And it was nice to get to everybody of the group. When we sit in the circle, we see everybody, but we don't get to do or to talk to
Yeah, there's
everybody.
intimacy to it.
This was not.
Yes.
You couldn't avoid it. That was really get to them.
Yeah, it's really fun to play with everyone. Everyone. So good. Yeah, once you've done the fire dance with someone, you're bonded forever. Playmates forever. Well, there's never been a fire dance like this one, has there, Georgia? Wow. And I loved it.
We didn't even have to start anyone.
No, we didn't.
You
Sometimes
started it.
forever.
Well, I know, but sometimes people will stand there and I'll be completely, we'll all be attached
one thing for me was that, you know, I spent a lot of my life in the last, say, 10, 20 years trying to calm down the fire. And come to one of these exercises and it's going against what I've been trying to do for the last 20 years. Because the fire was out of control for a while and I had to sort of let it go. And it sort of, it took a while to sort of accept the fact that it's not real. Because if it was real for me, I'd sort of feel like I'd be going back into what I really don't want to do. Yeah.
It became fun after that.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's the whole point. I think you have to look at force. I mean, anybody can take a gun and shoot somebody. So no matter how strong you want to be against somebody, they can bring a gun out and shoot you. You know, there's no such thing as power over anybody. They want to get you, they will. I mean, you know, it's pretty fragile. There's no real way you can have power over someone else. So for me, it's a matter of just understanding the way it all works rather than actually attaching to it. That's just my way anyway. I think that fits in. I don't think it's contrary to.
No, it's all part of the day. It's all part of the fun.
But just experiencing it, just let the humor out, the joy. You went to the other side.
You did.
Yeah.
At the same time as you were acting on the wrestling and the fighting and the killing and all this stuff, you were laughing. And
Right.
So you were having both at the same time.
So it makes you more comfortable with anger because you can bring it past there.
Yeah.
And turn into a fairy.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous. Everyone just became like this, graceful, noble, just exquisite. It was beautiful. I don't ever remember that happening either. I don't know about that. Yeah, in almost every fire dance, there was so much more of the martial arts. You know, actually stabbing and throwing and cutting and clawing.
Not torture.
But this kind of moved into the torture
Yeah.
zone.
And then
And the grabbing. And you're all grabbing.
The wrestling and so beautiful, wonderful. Wow, thank you. That was so much fun.
Yeah.